A recent court ruling in Russia has caught the attention of K-pop fans around the world after a woman was sentenced to compulsory labor for writing fan fiction about the group Stray Kids. The case involves a Russian photographer named Alexandra Cusk, who faced legal consequences for posting a story online that depicted a same-sex relationship between members of the popular South Korean boy band. This situation stems from strict laws in Russia regarding LGBT propaganda, and the outcome of the trial has sparked a significant amount of discussion internationally about censorship and fan culture. To understand exactly what happened, we need to look at the timeline of events, the specific laws involved, and the reaction from the public after the verdict was announced. The story began back in 2022 when Alexandra Cusk posted a piece of fan fiction on the internet. Fan fiction is a common hobby for many K-pop fans, where writers create fictional stories using the personas of real idols. In this specific instance, the story focused on members of Stray Kids and depicted them in a romantic same-sex relationship. At the time it was posted, the political situation in Russia regarding LGBT content was becoming increasingly strict. The Russian government had expanded its ban on what it terms LGBT propaganda, making it illegal to distribute content that promotes non-traditional sexual relationships. While these laws are broad, they are often applied to media, and in this case, they were applied to a piece of amateur writing posted on a social platform. The situation escalated when a woman reportedly discovered the fan fiction on her underage daughter's device. Instead of ignoring the content or discussing it privately, the mother decided to report the story to the police. This action triggered an official investigation into the author of the fan fiction. Authorities looked into the post and determined that it violated the expanded propaganda laws. This led to Alexandra Cusk being charged with a criminal offense. The fact that a hobby like writing fan fiction could lead to criminal charges was something that surprised many observers outside of Russia, but within the legal framework of the country, the case moved forward through the court system. During the trial, the details of the case were laid out for the court. The organization Parnai Plus, which is an LGBT health group, confirmed the nature of the content and followed the proceedings. Prosecutors argued that the fan fiction was a violation of the law and pushed for a harsh sentence. They reportedly asked the court to sentence Alexandra to 4 years in prison. This request highlighted the severity with which the Russian legal system treats these charges. For the defendant, the situation was dire. Alexandra Cusk admitted guilt in full during the trial. She explained to the court that writing fan fiction had been a long-time hobby for her and that she did not intend for it to be seen as a criminal act. However, her admission of guilt was part of the legal process in a system where the laws regarding this content are strictly enforced. The court eventually reached a verdict. While the prosecutors had sought a prison sentence of 4 years, the judge decided on a different form of punishment. Alexandra Cusk was sentenced to 18 months of compulsory labor. This type of sentence means that she will not be sent to prison, but she is required to work at a state-designated job for the duration of the sentence. Furthermore, the Russian state will withhold 10% of her earnings during this period. This outcome, while avoiding prison time, still results in a criminal record and significant interference in her daily life and finances. The case serves as a concrete example of how the expanded 2022 laws are being applied to individuals even in the realm of online fan content. This incident did not happen in isolation. It is part of a larger trend of enforcement in Russia regarding online content. Authorities have been actively blocking websites that host amateur fiction and other media that they classify as violating the propaganda laws. Just last year, a major Russian-language manga platform called Mangali was fined around 160,000 rubles for hosting content officials deemed to be LGBT propaganda. A manager of the platform was also fined an additional amount equivalent to roughly 13,700 euros. These actions demonstrate a systematic effort to police the internet and remove content that the government deems inappropriate, with the Stray Kids fanfiction case being the latest high-profile example. Once news of the sentencing spread online, it quickly went viral, particularly in South Korea. Korean netizens were exposed to the details of the case, and the reaction was one of shock and confusion. The idea that someone could be sentenced to labor for writing a story about K-pop idols was a foreign concept to many fans in Korea, where fan fiction is a widespread and generally accepted part of fandom culture. The comment section on social media platforms reflected this disbelief. One popular comment read, "Cool, I'd never be able to fangirl in their country," expressing relief that such strict laws do not exist in Korea. Another comment simply said, "Ah, Russia," indicating a sense of resignation or lack of surprise regarding the strict governance experience there. The discussions online were not limited to just the severity of the punishment. Some netizens also discussed the nature of the fanfiction itself. One comment pointed out the difference between the legal issue and the content issue, stating, "It's not like fanfic is queer fiction, so honestly, it really is a problem. I find RPF disgusting too, so I wish people in Korea would sue the really extreme ones. Of course, the agencies would absolutely never do that." This comment highlighted a divide in opinion regarding real person fiction or RPF, where some fans feel uncomfortable with stories written about real people. However, the commenter also noted that Korean agencies typically do not sue over such content, contrasting the business-friendly approach in Korea with the legal approach in Russia. Other netizens focused on the specific legal context of the situation. One person clarified the reason for the sentence, writing, "It wasn't just because it was fanfic, but because Russia itself has a ban on LGBT propaganda, so they were punished." This distinction is important because it clarifies that the crime was not the act of writing about stray kids specifically, but rather the depiction of a same-sex relationship, which is illegal under Russian laws. This detail helped international fans understand that the case was part of a broader human rights issue rather than just a dispute over K-pop fan content. A significant amount of attention was also paid to the fact that the case began because a mother reported her own daughter's device to the police. This aspect of the story stunned many readers. One comment that gained attention asked, "That's crazy. Reporting your own daughter. Is this what the atmosphere is like in Russia?" This reaction highlights the cultural disconnect between the international K-pop community, which values shared fandom experiences, and the strict societal controls enforced in Russia. The idea of a family member reporting a hobby to the authorities was difficult for many to comprehend.